Why do I follow three different spiritual traditions? Why am I Hindu, of a Daoisant practitioner of Vodou, which is similar to Voodoo, but the Haitian version, and a recognizer of my ancient Europeans' ancestral gods. And they believe they're related to the gods, at least in the form of Asatru that I practice. Why do I recognize the gods of my ancestors? Work with spirits in Vodou, and kind of at the top of the triangle am Hindu, because I really understand most things through Hinduism. Why do I have a relationship with these three different spiritual systems? Hinduism being more of a religion than Vodou or Asatru. Asatru means true to the Aesir, true to the gods, the more divine gods, not the really earthly or lower than earthly gods. But the reason that I participate in these three different ones is that I've searched so many different spiritual traditions. I've searched so many different ways of practicing a spiritual lifestyle, but also getting close to God. And these three systems have brought me closer to God and understanding God and the world and reality than any other tradition that I've delved into or studied or tried for a little while. And really, they work well together, in my opinion. Now, I'm white, and there's not a lot of white people that practice Vodou. It's not a system, it's not a spiritual system that requires you to be black or have any African blood or anything like that. But there aren't a lot of people practicing Vodou that are, basically full white. I'm fourth Mexican, but that isn't African in any way. But I found that in working Vodou, working with the spirits in Vodou, the Loa, the ones that I've worked with, Papa Legba, Ugu Ferai, Baron Samedi, Zili Dantor, they're not interested in what color your skin is or where your ancestors came from. They're interested in if you're willing to work with them, what you're willing to offer, and if you're willing to accept what they can provide. And working in Vodou, I found that the Vodou Loa accept material offerings more than any other system. And them being so close to materiality really allows us to work with them more than gods in other systems, or one god in any system, or really high up spirits. The Vodou Loa, the Rada, the ones that I usually work with, they're very close to humanity because they do accept the offerings that we enjoy that aren't like the most virtuous offerings like alcohol and tobacco and things like that, but because they value these things just like we enjoy these things, and they're willing to accept those things, they're very close to what a human being experiences in his life, the things that he wants in his life. So basically, their desires for the same things that we desire, which is like even romantic relationships with the Loa. You can get married to them, whether you're male or female. One particular one or one or more, but they have similar patterns of behavior and desires and practices and habits that human beings do, and that's why it's so easy to work with them, because they're so close to the things that we do. And Asatru, recognizing the gods in Asatru, the ones of my ancient European ancestors, Vikings namely, but they feel further off. They feel like when you're talking to them, you're yelling across maybe a valley. When you're working with the Loa and Vodou, it feels more like you're speaking not necessarily in a cave, but across a big room. But they much more easily hear you. They understand, they respond to you more quickly. And I've had way more supernatural experiences when I'm working with Vodou spirits than in Asatru or in Hinduism. Now, I recognize my ancient European ancestors' gods because I do feel a connection to them, and that is basically why I practice Asatru as well. Why I'm true to the Aesir, but also the Loa and the Divine Mother Kali Ma in Hinduism and other Hindu divinities. Hinduism isn't a polytheistic religion, by the way. Well, most Hindus aren't polytheistic. It's just they understand gods as being different parts of one God. Everything being a part of one God, basically one body, one being. But in Asatru, they do feel further off, but they do feel closer than the Divine Mother Kali Ma, which is how I mainly worship the one God through, while understanding that God has neither gender nor body nor particular attributes. But I worship God through the Divine Mother Kali Ma. The gods in Asatru are a little bit closer to us on planet Earth, but they also appreciate material offerings, but really what they appreciate is trying to understand them and work with them through understanding them, through basically challenging yourself to overcome certain things and be strong in the ways that the gods are strong and understanding and knowledgeable, whatever god you're working with, or gods plural. They appreciate you endeavoring more than they appreciate offerings. At least that's what I've felt. And when you're meditating with the gods of Asatru, it's far more beneficial than, I guess you could say, Loa. Loa as well. Meditation's always beneficial, but the gods in Asatru tradition, they are closer to forms of consciousness that are high up, that one can reach through meditation and feel an extreme sense of gratification, more so than the Vodou Loa. The Vodou Loa, you can contact with meditation, but it's not required, and it's not always desired. Now, finally, Hinduism. Now, I've talked about Hinduism a lot in the past, and it's the foundation for most of what I believe about reality in the universe. Nobody really introduced me to all these paths. I basically found them on my own through research, through trying to grasp and understand reality, the universe, different dimensions, and where everything comes from, the source, the all, the Godhead, if you will. And in Hinduism, I've always been more attracted to the Divine Mother Kali Ma, because she helps one fulfill one's desires and a virtuous and fulfilling life in this world, while helping you towards enlightenment, towards liberation from the world. And this has always been very attractive to me. Plus, I really look up to my mother more than I do my father, so looking at God in the form of a female is easier for me to relate to God than if I imagine a more male form of God. If I imagine a more male form of God, I found that the more I try to work with an aspect of God that is masculine, I feel more distant. I don't feel the same love and compassion toward God. That's why I choose the female form of the Divine Mother, and specifically the Divine Mother Kali Ma, which is she's very much misunderstood. Like, the picture behind me may seem demonic, but every single thing about it has a deeper meaning. It's not like anybody really believes that Kali Ma looks like that, like she exists that way. Every single part of it has a deeper meaning, and really the extraordinary ferocity in that picture behind me, in that tapestry, it's meant to help you overcome an ignorant understanding and a basic and confining understanding of what God is, and try to understand his functions, which are symbolic in that picture. I mean, it's a very symbolic picture. I don't really want to go into it. It's not about that. I was just talking about all three traditions that I practice, spiritual traditions, Vodou, Asatru, and Hinduism. And you can add things on to Hinduism. That's the thing about Hinduism, is that there's no innate doctrine that you have to follow in order to be Hindu. Some Hindus are even agnostic. They're open to God, but they don't necessarily believe in God. Basically, there's no central doctrine or authority that can tell you you're not Hindu if you don't believe this or that. And that's what has allowed Hinduism to survive for so long and have such a diversity of beliefs in it. And it's really a culture. It's not necessarily like a religion. It's more like a culture of sharing, of understanding, of interacting with reality and understanding and other people, and trying to work out our path and follow it. That's what Hinduism's about. And that's why it's probably the top of the spiritual practices, spiritual traditions that I follow, because it's a religion to me, but it is that more of a culture, a unifying culture. and I feel at one with Hinduism, and I have for a long time, for years, and it forms the basis of my understanding of reality. Even adding on Asatru and Vodou, Hinduism is my foundation. But I just wanted to share a few thoughts about the three different traditions that I follow, and I've never really met anybody that follows Vodou. I've communicated with some. I've never really met anybody that's Asatru. I've communicated with some, but I've never met them. And I've met few Hindus, and even when I met Hindus, I wasn't really impressed with their amount of knowledge they had, because I feel like I read and understand more of Hinduism than most Hindus that I know in the United States. And that's not me being prideful. It's just that I was like, wow. Even in Hinduism, people don't try to really understand it. So I encountered the same thing that I encountered in Christianity and Buddhism, is that a lot of people don't try to understand it to the extent that I have tried to understand it. And I really do think I have a deep level of understanding, but it's through a lot of practice, research, reading, meditation, spiritual practices. But hey, the message I want to communicate to you is that when you try to find a tradition for yourself or a religion for yourself, or trying to get out of one, just look all around and don't be convinced by one person. Really research and read into all religions, all spiritual practices, and delve into them. See if they work for you. Practice them. Do the meditations. Do the rituals. Do the thought experiments, or the art associated. Like in Vodou, you draw V's and focus on them. Just delve in and find out who you really are, what you truly believe, not what somebody else gives to you, not a belief that somebody else tells you should believe or assigns to you because you were basically under their authority, if it's your parent or a friend or your school system or whatever, or the church that you go to. Delve into the world of belief, delve into the world of faith, and delve into spiritual practices. See what you find. Find yourself is my recommendation, and that's just my recommendation. But I really appreciate you watching. If you made it this far, thank you very much for considering all this, and I will speak to you soon.